Hello, stitching friends, and welcome to another Flosstube for October. It is October 20th today, and today is going to be I'm going to show a few, well, one fully finished object, and then I'm going to show some finished objects. One of those being it's finished as far as I'm concerned until I can actually figure out what the pattern was and re-find the pattern that has been lost in the shuffle. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get there. And then it's going to be the rest of it a whip parade, and then I will do a catch-up at the end and talk a little bit lightly about plans. I have a regular plans video coming for next month soon, but not quite yet. So it's been a little while. I've been busy, of course, doing a lot of work. It's been a busy season. We're coming up on Christmas, and as a long arm quilter, which is what I do for a living, as well as teach, this tends to be the busy season up through the New Year's. So I've been trying to get caught up and a little bit ahead and staying ahead of the game with that. So I've had a lot of stitching time, but I haven't had a lot of video filming time, at least for my Flosstube. So let's get started. And what I'd like to do is to start off with one of my fully finished objects. Now, this particular one is Angel of Hope. It's a lavender of lace. It's actually one of the first pieces that I ever started and finished. So let me take you down. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to zoom a little bit so you can see it. So it's all framed and ready to go, and I love it. I wanted to show you all of it. Excuse all the shrapnel around here. I'm going to go down a little closer, but this particular lavender and lace, I love the way that it was framed. Of course, the blue matches the blue in her robing, as well as the accent of the gold matches the green gold, of course, in the actual cross stitch. Now with this piece, let me go down a little bit. Try not to make you seasick. With this piece, I did not do 2/1 on the face. I actually just did, because it was an early on piece, I didn't really have the skills yet to really know or do that's something that extreme. But you can see, of course, how this picks up the gold here, and then that beautiful blue matte, I don't know if it reads okay on video, matches the wonderful draping that she has in her outfit. I love this piece. You know, early on, I've always liked really heavily detailed pieces. I still do, even though now I do like, just for some fun, some lighter detailed pieces. But I absolutely love how this one turned out. That being said, I will say this. Early on, all I knew when I would go to the store is, let's grab some Aida fabric, and I would grab the Aida fabric, and of course it would be white because that's what I would grab. Now with this particular piece, what happened when I finished the angel is obviously the white, I can't remember if it was white or neutral background, I didn't love. And again, this was a long time ago before I knew about hand dyeing or any of that. And so you'll see that after the angel was finished, let me zoom a little bit more. In the background, what I did is I went in with that wonderful green, and I actually filled in around everything with the green to give it my own background color. So there is that. That was early on how I handled that type of issue. So that is my fully finished object, which hangs in my room to keep me and the dog safe as we sleep. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to gather up my finished objects. and my one semi-abandoned object, unless somebody out there can help me figure out what pattern it was so that I can find it. Well, I'll talk a little bit more about the finished pieces that I'm bringing out. The finished pieces that I'm going to bring out right now and show you are pieces that were worked on for many, many years now. And as I would go into cross stitch and out of cross stitch when I would have time. When I'd go through burnout, of course, there were 2 or 3 years at a time where I just wouldn't touch anything. But some of these I don't know the name of the next section that I'm going to show you. Because what would happen is when I was in nursing or traveling, a lot of people would just take their patterns that they have worked on, and back in the day before people would actually do scanning and copying to get their own working copy, what would happen is they would just use the original, mark it up with the the Sharpie highlighter, and the two friends that would just pass on their patterns to me would actually, because they were traveling as well, they would cut out just the stitching part and the key, and that's what I had. So that's what I would work from for my earlier pieces. And oddly enough, I didn't even have any finished picture of what the piece would look like, so it was always going to be a bit of a surprise, at least on the next, I think there's about 5 of them that I'm going to show you, finished objects. So let me get those ready, and I'll be back in a flash. Okay, I think I've got myself pretty situated for our next part, and when I'm looking over like this, I'm actually switching cameras to give you a better view of what I have rather than holding them up. We have our film studio that we use with quilting, so I figure why not take advantage of that here. So okay, let me come down. So this particular series of flowers, I love doing flowers. I think they're wonderfully fun. As I look at these, and these have done through many years, been done, and I would probably go in and add a little bit of back stitching to them, which was not on the initial pattern that I had. Like I said, a lot of these were simply cut out from the original, passed on to me to do. So this one, which is Yellow Jasmine, I also want to say as I go through these real quick, again, this was a long time ago when all I knew about was white Aida. I had no idea about hand dyeing. So as I look at these were planned as something that I would put into a quilt. But now, as I look at them, I really wish I would have done something lovely like a blue, light blue sky background in a few of these. Now, I don't know that I'm going to do anything with these, but I think I am, and I think what I'm going to do, I want to show you something real quick. One of the other things that I like to do, because of course as a lot of us, we have a lot of different hobbies. This actual piece right here is a pyrography piece. So if you don't know what pyrography is, it's people normally do it on wood. It's wood burning using the wood burning type pencils. I like to do it on canvas. This is actually on a piece of canvas. It's mounted to a poster board because I am in the midst of coloring it with some fabric inks. And again, this is done on regular duck canvas, but you can burn on fabric wonderfully. And as I look at this, and as I've been playing with this, because I do love to do the pyrography, I like to do portraiture and animal, wildlife, those sorts of things. What I've been thinking is that for this particular series, because of the stark white, maybe taking the background and doing a little bit of burning on the background, maybe some really cool formal kind of framing and designs around it, and then using a little bit of the appropriate color fabric ink and going around and doing a little bit more color in there to get rid of that stark white. That's my thought. So, but we'll see, you know. There's only so much life left at my age. So again, this one is Yellow Jasmine, Indian Paintbrush, and I'll go through these fairly quickly because there's a lot of them. Mock Orange, and I do love this one, although as I look at it, I think I would like to go in and do a little bit of back stitching with some of these. Dogwood, one of my mom's favorites. She loved flowers. Forget-me-not. Some of these are a little bit primitive. Typically I don't like a lot of block work or primitive type work, but I did like these. Wood violet, and again, this was started years ago, which was early on Lady's Slipper. Now this one I really like, and I would like to go in and add a little bit more detail on my own, do a little bit more, because I do a little bit of design work of my own, so I can go in and kind of figure out what to do. Sickle Lily, Scarlet Carnation, Columbine, Lilac, Orange Blossom. I love the greens here. Those are really cool greens. And the Peony. I definitely would like to go in and add a little bit of separation in there so it doesn't look so blocky. So there is that particular collection. Let me get rid of that. Put that out of the way. And then I had not done a lot of the black work before, and so I thought that I'd like to try my hand years ago at that. And again, I don't know the names, sadly enough, of any of these patterns. All the stuff that I've been working on the past 5 or 6 years, which we're going to get to, I do know the names. So please forgive me. And if you know the names of any of these patterns, please, in the comments, just add them. So I love this type of work. I've got a lot of patterns now with this stuff in it. I enjoyed doing this when I did it, and again, this was done a while ago. I just think that this kind of work is really, really cool. Combining that with your regular cross stitch is just a fun way to go. So there is that one. Don't know what I'm going to do with it. Again, I would probably, of course, now use a different color canvas. Live and learn. Now I think this one that I'm going to show you next, this is Hummingbird and Fuchsia. I've looked it up and I have seen this available on Etsy. I don't know if it's copied from the actual pattern and sold that way. There's no name on the pattern when I look at when I did try to find some of these patterns to give you, but I just love it. And with this one, I don't know if you can see, let me squeeze in a little bit. It doesn't really show up on camera well, but I included some wonderful metallics within, and it has a sparkle that doesn't read on camera on the hummingbirds. But I do really love that. Now let me zoom out a little bit here. Sorry if that's making some of you a little seasick. When I did search, I just searched the text that was actually on the pattern that I had received. And again, like I said, the ones that I'm showing you right now were ones that the previous owners of the pattern, which were friends, would cut out the pattern portion and the key and just pass it on to me when they were done with it. So I love this one, the color on that. Now the metallic on some of these I just kind of made up myself. I didn't use anything that was in the key. I just wanted it to have a little bit of sparkle, but that one turned out really well. I do love it. I would probably do this one over, and if I had the opportunity again. And I did this morning go check, and there is a pattern still available on Etsy. When I finished these pieces, because they were early on, I think because the pages were pretty ratty and had been marked over a lot with the Sharpie, yellow marker, the highlight markers, that I just had thrown them away. Again, now of course we do the making a working copy so that we have a working copy, so that we have a lovely pattern in case we want to pass it on to a friend, or of course you can do the resale with it on some of the pages on Facebook, which I'm getting ready to do a bunch of the ones that I'm done with, that I've already completed. So then there is this one. Let me lay it out here for you. This was one of my favorites, and I have to say, I have to laugh a little bit because this was back, way back, when I didn't know any better, and I would use the tape around the edge, right? And again, as I look at this, I do love it. I love the white. This is actually it's not traditional Ada. I know the hummingbirds was my first foray into linen. This one, I don't even know what the fabric was. I think it was a piece of fabric that someone passed on to me. But I love the peachy roses. Again, I just think that that's great. My mom really loved flowers. She had a pretty extensive flower garden. And I love the detail in this particular pattern. And I did go and I did try to search for this for about an hour and a half a few nights ago, just so I could get the name of the pattern for you, and I just could not find it. There were tons of peach rose patterns out there, but this one never did come up. I did find some that I thought were pretty amazing. Let me zoom out a little bit, see if we can get that whole shot in there. So those are some of my finished objects. I'm going to talk a little bit at the end after I finish with the whips about future plans, also about a cycle of life that I'm going through right now. I got to tell you, I would love to say that my life is completely organized, but being self-employed, having 5 different studios that I work out of, they're just, everything is kind of hither and thine, right? So, and I know some of you know exactly what I'm talking about, even if you don't have businesses. As artists, we tend to be a little bit ADHD, so we have a little bit of everything everywhere. But I'm kind of trying to figure out, I think I probably have another 50 or 60 finished objects. I don't have a lot of fully finished objects just because I tend to be a process stitcher. So, I know that right now I'm going to spend this next winter um, organizing my life a little better and also doing a little bit of purging, which I know I'm going to be doing that with a lot of my patterns, a lot of different art supplies, a lot of just stuff that I've collected through the years. Um, so that will kind of help free my mind up so that I can focus on all of the things that I want to do. I'm starting to reach that age where it's like, there's only 5 or 10 years left. I better get on the stick and get some things done. If you all know what I'm talking about there, I'm feeling my mortality, and I got a lot of stuff to do. Right. In fact, that's come up for me. I think I might have mentioned that in another video, but I have been thinking a lot about, as I digress for a minute before I go into whips, but I have been thinking a lot about, and I want to do a video and actually talk about my plan of, you know, I have approximately 100 and something works in progress. Now, we're not going to see all those. I think we're going to see maybe 10 or 20 that I'm working on at present time. And then when I do the end of year whip parade, we'll see some more. Um, but I'm looking at that and I'm wondering, okay, so I'm not going to finish even half of these probably before uh, life or health comes to a close for this. So I'm trying to make a plan on how to keep everything organized as well as the charts for those, so that way I can have something to pass on to other stitchers, right, for them to finish if they so choose to finish. That will be fairly organized, so they're not trying to figure out um, because I typically either I use my iPad or I use Pattern Keeper. I haven't really jumped into Pattern Keeper fully. I have it. I actually use GoodNotes. I prefer that right now because I gotta have a friend go through the Pattern Keeper with me so I can kind of understand that a little better. But how to actually save my charting as I go so that that way the person that is in charge of taking care of all of my stuff, if something does happen, that they know how to pull things together as a stitcher so that we can pass on our legacies that are unfinished to people that would like to actually finish those and be able to enjoy them themselves. Anyways, a whole different thing. But it is something that's been on my mind lately because I am a process stitcher and I do have so many whips. I know I'm not going to finish probably even a quarter of them, and I'm going to be starting a lot more before I actually even go any further with that. So let me take a minute. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pull out all of the whips that I'm doing right now. Like I said, I think there's about 10 or 20, and then we will continue. Oops. So I've got, excuse me for just a second. I had a few more. And I also forgot to show you the one that was kind of important before I grab my whips. So let me lay this out. So this is the one that I had been working on and lost the pattern. Because I had put it away and I don't know the name of the pattern. It feels like it was something that was kind of popular, but I can't remember, and I'd like to finish it, and I know I've got back stitching to do here, so let's go in, zoom, 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 zoom. All right, so, and I love the squirrels were amazing. The metallic, yeah, so who knew, this was, again, pretty early on, I remember, and there wasn't a lot of metallics that were easy to work with, so I think definitely now I found some metallics that I actually like. So if anybody knows the name of this particular pattern, I would like to repurchase the pattern since I lost my cutouts of the pattern for this one. And I love it. Obviously a castle, the lady playing the Zyre, I don't know what kind of instrument that is, guitar type of instrument, very medieval. So there is that one. Also, there were times during traveling that I would be sometimes in a different country or something like that, and I needed something to do while sitting in hotels, and so I would go to their version of, I don't know if you remember the old Ben Franklins that we used to have back in the day, just aged myself, and I would get something to work on in the hotel. So these are a few of those simple pieces. I typically don't do any of this anymore, but it was just something to kill time. It was done on regular cotton or linen. Some of them, a few of these, the kits would have the fabric in it, or you would just simply buy the fabric. And again, if you see as I zoom in, it wasn't actually canvas to count. You actually had to, I know some of these you could actually do iron on. Some of them you just kind of went for it. I think on this one, this was a go for it, and I just kind of tried to stay as stable as I could with it and do that. But those were pretty fun. And then let me come back out again. All right. And then there's this piece, which is very cool. Now these I will probably work into a quilt at some point. I do like to use linens for some of the quilts that I do. I just think it's fun. And there's the whole thing. And then as we zoom in, you can see it's a little more primitive. It's not as photorealistic as I normally do, but it was something that I found that was wonderful to work on in a hotel room or airports or whatever, wherever it was when that was in my life. I used to spend a lot of time in hotel rooms and airports back before COVID when I would um, travel throughout the world and teach quilting. So that was, and I'm typically not a sit and watch TV guy. I always have to have something hand-wise to do. So that was that. All right, now I'm going to go and grab my whips, and then I'll be right back, and we will continue with that. Okay, so now I've got these semi-organized. Let me go over to my tablet. The one that I'm doing now, I believe her name is Angelique, and it's a lavender and lace. And there is the picture of what the finished piece is going to look like. And here is what I have so far, and as you can see, I've got that part by her knee going. Let me take it back there. So you can see the part where her knee is bent. That's kind of where I'm working at there. And I didn't want to use that blue fabric. I wanted her to be in a beautiful sunset kind of piece, so I hand dyed this piece. I've got yellow going into red, going into purple, going into blue, going into, I think there's some green down at the bottom. So I can't wait to see what this looks like on that beautiful piece of, I believe this is Ada, and I believe it is 20 stitches per inch. I believe I dyed on 18 count, but of course with the dyeing process it went down to, ended up as 20 count with the shrinking and the processing and that sort of thing. So I always count it as what does it finish out as, rather than what did it start out as. Whenever I sell any of my hand dyes, or whenever I talk about my hand dyes, when I say 20 count, that's the finish. It started off as 18, but when I remeasured the count, it was 20 count. So this one is going well. I do like to work on that. It is obviously on a scroll frame. I have 3 or 4 different stands that I use to do my stitching at. I have one in the living room, one in the bedroom. I've got a Gus. I've got I think it's an American stitcher frame. I'll have to do a video on all the different frames. I also have one that's similar to a Lowry's, but I don't think it's a Lowry's. And then I also have a few cheapies, and I've got a few table stands that I use. And also I do use the Q-snaps if I'm going to be in hand. I don't do stitching in hand with just the fabric. I do like to use the frames. I'm not a stitch in hand person because I don't know that my tension would be as good as what I kind of expect it to be. So there is that one, and then we will do the next one. So the next one, give me just a second here. Let me get my marbles together. My next one is one that I think I'm going to restart, and I'll show you why. So let me first give you a overall. It's Heaven and Earth Design pattern. It is the 10 Lepers by James Christensen. And it's that guy right there. And let me get you an actual detailed shot of the mock-up of the finished piece, which I love. Again, I had purchased this particular pattern, before I really thought about doing hand dyeing. And so I think, to be very honest, I think what I'm going to do, that background is a nightmare. And when I say that, I mean that in the sweetest way possible. But I got to tell you, I got I don't have much stitchy life left in me. Again, I got less than 20 years, I'm assuming. So this is just the background, and I've got like, oh, 2 or 3 thousand. And there's about 4 different colors in here, but that's a lot of bang for my time. Very little bang for my time. Again, let me take you back for that. And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to hand dye a piece. And then I'm going to, of course, just do the 10 lepers themselves in the midst of that. I just love, again, Christensen's work that he does there. I'm certainly not a religious person, but I do love that artwork, and I really do love his archetype, the archetype of the healer, so to speak, especially coming out of healthcare. So that one is one that I'm looking forward to finishing. Now, let me see. I don't have these unzipped, so please forgive the unzipping for those that it makes crazy. I'm going to pull this one out. Now, these are intermixed with some fun, nothing's in order, and I didn't pre-iron. A lot of them get folded and put away until I feel like working on them again. This is one of my bags. There we go. Project bag. There you go. Obviously, as a quilter, I like to make my own project bags. Put that out of the way there. So this one is a Stony Creek. It is Flamingo Stocking, and this is wonderful. This actually was a prize that I won on the Stitchin' Without All the Bitchin' Facebook page that's there. But I love this. It's great. And then there is how far I am. I think I'm right about here, somewhere in there. So it's a fun project to work on. This one I don't grab very often. It's a lot of block stitching, which I like. Sometimes when I'm in the mood, this is exactly what I reach for. And again, sorry, I have not ironed that. You'll see that a lot of these, as I'm showing them, were not ironed. It will save us a little time, though. I will simply fold and stack. Get those out of the way. Again, that is a Stony Creek Flamingo Stocking pattern. Fun, fun, fun. Okay, now this one. All right, let me unzip again. Let's see, what would be up? I think that's up. Okay, so this is a piece of hand dye. This is a 20 count Aida. I don't always work on Aida, but I do like working on Aida. This one is Blue Moon Angel, and let me pull that up for those of you that don't know that particular lavender and lace pattern. There it is. Now you'll see on the screen that it's done in teals. Those are really beautiful teals, and I made the decision to change it to green. I wanted some emerald greens. I just felt like green would be something that would be a little bit more conducive to what I wanted. I'm going to squeeze in there a little bit more. And I do like the way that the green, so it's my own conversion that I'm doing with the green. And there we go. So again, that is Blue Moon Angel. So that's one that I am working on at the moment. We have major windstorm going on here. So, as I said, it's October 20th, 2025. If you're going back and watching earlier ones. And I love it. This is my favorite time of year. You know. So, and it's Monday. So I'm taking a day and doing this because why not? All right, again, excuse my rattling of my Ziplocs. We'll set those aside so that I don't have to do that again. So this particular guy, let me show you the mock-up first. Again, I've been liking a lot of the more simple pieces, as well as some of the full coverage that I like to do, as well as some of the lavender and lace, Mirabilia, Bella Filipina, those. And because it's October, I really liked this one. So that guy right there, isn't that adorable? I love the face. Look at those eyes. Those eyes are amazing. I love the shadow work. See, again, this is that detail stuff that I like. I love when something has that wonderful photorealistic look. And so there is how far I've gotten. This actually is reading a little bit blue. It's a little more gray, and it does have a little bit of modeling in the gray. It doesn't have a lot, but I thought that pumpkin would look really cute on there as a small frame piece. To pass on as a gift or to hang for a while, for a year or two. So there is that one. And then I have, I started this one? I have started this one. So a lot of you know, set that aside gently, sorry. Keep that plastic away from the microphone. A lot of you, of course, know who Stitchman Darcy is, who I enjoy watching on his Flosstubes. He's a crazy, crazy guy. Very fun. Let me find. Give me just a second. Yeah, there he is. All right. So the one that I'm working on right now is Red Rum, of course, from The Shining. And I am let me see, I've got RED and I've started the R again for that one. So that one I'm looking forward to. Of course, The Shining is iconic. I love it. I think it'll be great to hang around for Halloween. Doesn't really have to be just for Halloween, but again, that's another fun little piece that I like to work on. If I usually have this one under the seat of my car in case I'm going somewhere, doctor's appointments or visiting friends in the hospital or doing something like that, where I'll have some time to sit and work. Easy, I don't have to think a lot. I can just take it and go. Okay, so that is it on that one. I'm starting to run out of room there. Now this one I love. I'm going to pause everybody and I'm going to go ahead and unzip all these. That way you guys don't have to hear that unzipping again. I know they don't. The zipping thing doesn't bother me on videos, but I do know that there are some people that have a little bit of audio sensitivity. So let me stop and I'll come back and I will unzip the rest of these so you don't have to hear that unzipping. Okay, hopefully that'll be a little less annoying to not hear the zipping of the bags. So my next one is Colleen from the Rebel Stitcher. They just did the shopping thing, the shopping spree or whatever, where they release all the designs. I think that happened in September, if I remember correctly, which is really cool. And I'll tell you what, I waited so patiently for this one, and this one that I'm going to show you is so not me, not in the least. But you know, I love her stuff. I I love her. I think she's amazing. I love watching, again, Rebel Stitcher on Flosstube. I think she's amazing. A true treasure. Very, very wonderful person. So this one is Yikes, and I absolutely love it. And I'm not a not cat person, but typically, you know, I have Great Danes, so I'm not typically a cat person because I'm allergic. But this cat for Halloween, I think, is one of the most adorable cats I have ever seen in stitching. I love everything about it. I love the vintage feel of it. Um, I'm definitely not going to finish mine this way, even though I love it. I'm going to do something a little bit different. Um, but I love that particular design, and I was waiting so patiently for that pattern. I remember I kept calling our local stitching shop is in LaPorte, and it is House of Stitches. And Sarah, the owner, is just absolutely incredible. And I know she probably got a little sick of me saying, "Is it in yet? Is it in yet?" You know, because it takes a little while once that particular event happens for the designers to then send the designs. So, and I've been working on that now, and what I have done is that much. So I don't have a ton done, but I have a nice amount. I have a nice marbled dusty orange that's I dyed myself, and I actually use Procyon MX dyes. There are some dyeing videos. You'll see me down in my dyeing studio. I know I have some floss tubes where I'm actually doing some dyeing for upcoming projects, but I love this one. This is so fun for me. I've been addicted to this one in the evenings lately to work on. I just think it's really a fun project. Now I did change the thread from the called for. It called for the black cat. It called for CGT Felix, and instead I chose. Let me get my glasses, put my eyes on so I can see better. The Gentle Art Simply Shaker Eggplant. And I love it. Now, it's not your typical purple eggplant. It's more of a dark brown, deeper rich. It is variegated, and I don't think you can see all the variegations, but I wanted that because it just works so well on that dusty orange for the cat. Of course, it gives that wonderful feel of a black cat, but it just looks amazing. Again, Colleen is wonderful. Her pattern, this pattern is exquisite. Again, not something that I would typically be drawn to, but I saw this and I pined for it for about a month before I could get my hands on it. I know we've all been there, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then I have a, where is it? Oh, there it is. A Dimensions, and I don't know that it's still available. It is Peking Pups, and of course dogs. I'm always going to go there. But this one is, again, Dimensions, Peking Pups. I just think that that is so cool. I love, 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 love it. And so that is as far as I've gotten on that one. Now again, oops, is that the back? That is the back. Sorry about that. There is the front. There we go. Okay. Do I have my top, bottom marked? You know what? It doesn't matter. I'm not that far yet. So hopefully on some of the upcoming one, you'll be able to tell which one is the top, which one is the bottom. I usually label them, but it's probably hidden in there somewhere. So this one is just adorable, and I'm having I'm having a fun time with this one in front of the TV. So I do like this one. That one, of course, again, is Peking Pups by Dimensions. Okay, So there's that. Next, next, next. Another fun one. Etsy. Ooh, I missed a zipper. And there is a whole series of these. Do I have a, oh, yes, good, okay. That was the actual chart. We don't want to see that. I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. All right. Open that up. Get me ready here. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is that one. I'm a rabbit too. And let me squeeze down. Zoom. So that is her name. I will assume it's her and not him. Forgive me if I got that wrong. So I got that on Etsy. So you can go to Etsy and type in I'm a rabbit too, cross stitch. There is a whole series with this cute little fox, and I love the series. I don't know that I've gotten all of them, but I think I have almost all of them. And I just think this is so cute. And I actually really liked the background rather than dyeing something. I like that natural color. So as you can see, where I'm at is right up here. I haven't done any back stitching yet, but you can see I am right there with that one, and I just think it's adorable. I think it's awesome. But the whole series, and I will just assume this is a she has some amazing patterns on her Etsy page. And I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the Etsy page, but if you go to Etsy, type in I'm a rabbit too with this name. So I won't even try to say it. And there you go. So I'm enjoying doing that one as well. Haven't worked on this one in a while. One that definitely needs a little bit of stitching love. Okay, so now, then there's this one, and this one I have to tell you. So here's the deal. My housemate, as an artist and a quilter, you know, who's the last person that really gets anything? Your family and friends, right? I do a lot of stitching, a lot of quilting for clients, that sort of thing, but boy, the people that suffer are family. They never really get a piece. And so let me pull up the mock-up. So what happened was I took a friend of mine, Roberta, to get her hooked, because it's like, you know how that is. You know, we got to spread that addiction around a little bit. Let me pull up the, there we go. You know, and there was an agenda. It's like, hey, she tends to be a go crazy and buy everything as well. So I thought, ooh, if she buys a bunch of patterns and I buy a bunch of patterns, we can share patterns, right? So nonetheless, she purchased this one and brought it home. And my housemate, who we share house, I have part of the house, he has part of the house, and then we have the common areas, but totally not into any of this stuff. You know, he does produce a lot of my quilting videos. But I remember he came downstairs and he looked at the piece that Bert was working on, her piece, which is this, and totally out of character said, wow, I really love that. This is Cottage Garden. It's snow time. Very primitive. So not a piece I would have picked out for me at all. But I will tell you this, you know, he said, oh my gosh, if I ever had a cross stitch hanging in my area, that's one that I would like. So I thought, oh geez, here we go. So that was a definite hint. So I am working on that for Christmas. P.S. Last Christmas. So I'm gonna hop to it on this one. I'm gonna try to get this done this year. I have the scarf done and I have that done. You can see I've got my needle minder, my Ripley needle minder. I love Ripley from Aliens, one of my favorite characters. And I love to make needle minders. So that one is one of my needle minders. So fun piece, and I am enjoying working on it, but I do have to definitely do a little more work to get that one done and home to where it needs to be home to, right? All right, so now we're almost there. I think we got 3 more. All right, so this one, oh yeah, this was very much like yikes for me. You know, the cat that I told you, I saw this one and I made Sarah from our shop order it. And again, it was one of those that I kept saying, is it in yet? Is it in yet? So I have a whole series of designs with my friend. I do a lot of artwork. Let me show this and then I'll get to there. In fact, I'll save that part till the end. I'm jumping ahead. Getting into a conversation that shouldn't be had yet while I'm showing somebody else's stuff. Okay, there we go. So this one, which is Dirty Annie's Live Dirty. I love it. Fake your death, eat cabbage. Look at that little guy, that possum. That is just adorable. So of course I fell in love with that one, and again, that was one of those that I had to get ASAP. And so that's how far I am. I'm at the bottom of the feet and everything. Now I will say this, I don't do this very often. I'm really pretty good about not messing up, but somewhere along the line over in this section I was off 1 or 2 squares. No big deal, because I came over to this side and I started working this way, and I figure I can fudge those 2 little stitches in this section and it'll be just fine. But nonetheless, that is one that I can't wait, of course, to finish. I just think it's cute as heck, and you'll know why in just a minute. Just remember possum. So, and I'll touch on that in a little bit. Let me try to keep this organized. Where was that one? There we go. Get your face on there. All right. Oh, I may have 3 more actually. What's this one? Oh, this is a wanna do. This isn't a start, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. Actually, there's 2 of them. I remember I showed this in the and earlier when I showed my kits parade, when I had my kits parade. Let's do this one. This little guy. I might do that one for Christmas. I love that. Our neighbor actually has Dachshunds, wiener dogs, and I think that would be cute for Christmas as a little gift. But I do love that one. But the one that I'm really looking forward to is John Weiss. I love John Weiss as an artist. So this is, let me zoom out again. There we go. Dimensions, hard to find. I know it's out of print. There's a few of his. I have to find the other one, and I will find it. Man's Best Friend. I love, it's me. It's me with my dogs. I'll never be without dogs, and I just love the whole, this one is one of my favorites, but also there's another one where him and his old dog is walking off into the snow, and I just find that really symbolic of this part of my life. So I do want to find that one, but the artwork is amazing. I own a few of his prints of this old man with the dog. He did a whole series that I love. Again, this is another project bag. Yay. Put this one in here. Yes, so those are ones that still need to be started, so I kind of jumped the gun on that. Sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry. Supposed to be. All right, so now this one. So another company that I'm really enjoying their stuff is, and I'm not going to pronounce it right. Get a drink. A little late in the day for coffee, but oh well. Is Nimue. Let me show you. So this guy, this is the Fey Main Fairy Dust, and I'm collecting as many of this company's work as I can, and I just think she's adorable. She actually reminds me of my niece when my niece was young, and that's how far I am. And you can see kind of where we're at there. You can see the hand and that sort of stuff. So a lot of back stitching. Actually, with this one, the back stitching is what makes it. If you see there, you see there's a ton of back stitching. So that's definitely gonna and it's not that big. It goes really fast. Not too bad, but that one is another one of those that I need to put some time and love into, right? Okay, so, okay. Am I good? Okay, so those are the ones that I have been working on now for, I think, the past 3 or 4 months, spending a lot of time on. Next month when I do an update, and I'm going to try to do an update every month, I'll show you how far I got on some of those, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what my plan is over the next 2 months, which is not quite working on all of those. I'm going to do a little bit of switch and kind of alternate some of the pieces that I'm working on. I want to get rid of this because one of the things that I'm doing, aside from being a quilter, I love to do artwork in general. I've always worked with a lot of colored pencil. I use a lot of the Copic inks. I love doing graphite. I do a little bit of acrylic painting for detail on some of my pieces. So I've been doing art for, I'm 61 right now, so I've been doing art since I was about 10 years old, I think. So that's about 50 years. I have gone and did a little bit of college classes, but also have done a lot of private workshops early on in my life, and so I take it pretty serious, but it's also part of my life that's more of a hobby than anything, whereas with the art form of quilting, after I left healthcare, kind of became my livelihood and my career, and kind of took over everything. That being said, you know, the art part of my life, I love to create art, and the last piece whip that I'm going to show you is from one of my pieces of original art that I did in colored pencil, alcohol inks, colored pencil, graphite, a little bit of detail with some of the grunge inks for the wall and that sort of thing. So let me show you that. So before I go there, I decided I wanted to do a series. I usually do a lot of wildlife art and that sort of stuff, but I wanted to do a series based on, of course, childhood books that we loved, or movies, or that sort of thing. And of course, Wizard of Oz has been so popular with all of the Oz stuff that's been out. And Oz, I think, is kind of timeless. It's been around forever. I understand part 2 of Wicked. Funny story. So my housemate and Roberta, who comes and spends a lot of time with us, they were all into the whole, what is Wicked, the whole Wicked thing, and they asked if I wanted to go see the play. And I'm not a big Broadway. Not really into theater or anything like that. I'd rather see a good action adventure movie. They wanted to go and see that in Chicago when it was in Chicago, and I said, no, you guys go ahead. I'm not really into that. So they went and saw it, came back, and then of course this last year, of course, the movie came out, and they're like, "Oh, the movie's coming out!" And so for 3 weeks before the movie was out, of course, they released the soundtrack. And everywhere we went in the vehicles, they would play this music all the time. So I was already sick of it before it even came. And they're like, "Oh, we got to go see it. And it's 3 hours or whatever. I know it's long." And I'm like, I have no interest in going to see that with you. But you guys go, you have a great time. They're like, "No, no, no, you got to go, you got to go, you got to go." So I'm like, okay. So my housemate and Bert, they booked, one of the theaters that have the reclining seats and all that in. They booked one of those the weekend it came out. We went, and in my head, I'm like, I do not want to sit through 3 hours of this. And so we went and sat down, and the movie started. And I'll tell you what, 10 minutes in, I was all in, right? Because I love the original with, of course, Judy Garland and all that stuff. I was hooked. I was hooked like you couldn't believe. It was great, great, great film. So 20 minutes to a half hour in, I turn over like this to both of them because they were on each side of me. They're both asleep. So I finished the movie, and they woke up, and they were in and out because it's a pretty long movie. But I stayed awake the whole time. Love it. Can't wait for part two. So now I have to say I'm a fan. So anyways, back on point. So I'm working on this series, and I've incorporated some stuff from Snow White, some characters from Snow White, and some art pieces. I've got a few ideas from other things, but of course, The Wizard of Oz is one of them. Now, I'm not traditional, so I'm not using like a lot of the traditional imagery. I wanted to do something that's my own, something a little more original, and I've come up with a few pieces of about 5 for The Wizard of Oz that I'm going to be doing. Now, from my artwork, I made the decision because I wanted to do my artwork in cross stitch. And because I have some pretty good artwork, I decided that I'm going to be doing some cross stitch patterns, right? Because, of course, I'm going into retirement. I do need to make a living. And so I've decided that I'm going to be doing a business with my own artwork as cross stitch patterns. And obviously I love dogs, but I decided not to do anything dog-wise as far as the title. So the name of mine and Bert, my friend Bert, who does a lot of technical stuff, and she can organize the patterns well for PDF and that sort of thing, is Possum Drops Stitching. And I don't know why, but I've been working on this piece of a possum in a parachute coming down, and I thought, oh, I just love that. And I thought, oh, that'd be a great name for my cross-stitch stuff. So one of the first pieces in the, like I said, the fairy tale books series from childhood that I'm doing is I'm doing about 5 or 7 pieces from The Wizard of Oz. I've also got some from Snow White, Peter Pan. I'm working on some different pieces, but none of them are anything that's related to anything you've seen before. And the piece that I just finished a few months ago was after we saw Wicked, of course, but again, not using any of the imagery from the movie because I wanted to do my own. But I thought, there had to be a moment where the witch, had just like a moment of thought of regret from how life has turned out and how things are happening. And I thought, oh, and when would it be? And it'd probably be at that moment from the original movie with Judy Garland of where she turns over the sand in the hourglass timer, and she's going to kill her, and she goes out into the hallway. And then I thought, I wonder if there would have been like a moment of repose where she's leaned up against the castle wall and she's just thinking about life and has a moment of regret, which is the name of the art piece that I'm basing the first of my cross stitch, and also for quilting I'm doing this as an applique pattern as well. So this is the piece that I've done in colored pencil, alcohol inks, graphite, and some acrylic paints for some of the detail. So that is, again, that's a moment of regret. And I just think that it's showing up really, really green there. It's not as green as psychedelic green. It's a little more dull green in real life of the first piece. So I have created my pattern as well. It's pretty big. And so that is my last work in progress that I'm working on, which is that it? Yep, that's it. So I just started it right there. So that is how far I am. Now it's pretty photorealistic. It's going to show up really pretty much just like the original piece, and it's pretty high thread count. I can't remember. I think it's 600 and something by 600 and something. And I have decided that what I would do is with my art pieces, when I distribute the pattern from the website, from our website that we have not created, I want to get about 10 or 15 patterns ahead before we actually open it up. But I want to have it in 3 different sizes. So I want to have a very simple one where the thread count might be 250 by 250 or 300 or something like that, and then do a next level and then do a high level. But it would be just sold as one package, and then you have choices of which one you wanted to do, whether it would be simple up to crazy amount, some of this 900 by 900, whatever. Because I know for myself, I do like the larger, more detailed pieces. And I do like a lot of detail, especially from my own artwork, because I'm pretty detailed with my own artwork. So that is my last whip, and that's kind of my plan coming up for the future. And what I'm and I will talk a little bit more about that when I have my friend Bert is coming up. She's coming up in a few weeks. We're going to spend a week, and we're going to format all of the patterns that I have completed and get those ready to kind of go. So then I will announce that in upcoming Flosstubes. So amongst all of that going on, of course, personal wise, everything seems to be doing pretty good. Physically, I feel pretty good. I've had a few little health challenges just because of age, but everything's going really well. The dogs are amazing. I have a very small group of friends. We hang out. Business is good. It's the holiday season. It's good. But I'm also finding that it's time for me to slow down and do just the things that I love and want to do. I'm, aside from doing the patterns and the cross stitching, I've kind of am diving back into a little bit of pyrography, as well as the regular artwork that I'm doing. I typically work about 6 hours a day, 5 days a week at my shop, the quilting studio. I used to do 12-hour days, 7 days a week, but I'm finding I'm at that age where there's other things that I really want to do. And I still love doing all of my quilting and designing patterns and all that stuff. But, it's just that weird little reshuffle time in my life where I'm kind of walking into the winter, so to speak. So that's really an interesting part of my life. So this has gone on. I hope you enjoyed what I've shown. Again, I'm going to try to get at least one update a month, maybe more, maybe 2 a month if I'm having a heavy month or there's other things going on in my stitching world, so to speak. I did have one more thing that I wanted to show. I've been doing some thread painting with just regular thread with my long arm quilting machine, and doing freehand work on a kingfisher that I want to show for those of you that are interested. So let me go grab that, and I will be right back. I'll also show I was working on a Lucy applique art piece quilt that I'll show as well, just to kind of close things out. So I'll be right back. So my for an upcoming art piece, I do a lot of thread painting, freehand, just like when I'm using my colored pencils or anything like that. And the piece that I have been working on right now is this wonderful kingfisher, which will be, this is all thread. Go in. So every bit of that is thread. So it's a fun piece, another part of my portfolio I'm working on. Again, this piece, once it's finished, will be cut out and appliqued into an art piece. I believe he's going to be sitting on a branch near a wetlands area when it's done. So again, all thread, fun stuff. So that's one of the pieces that I have been working on. You know, I always think to myself, boy, I feel like I'm not doing a lot, but I guess I am doing a lot when I start showing all this stuff. And then, of course, I'm getting ready to do an portrait applique class. So this piece, which is a photo I took of Lucille Ball. I'm not that old, but at the Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. So, and I took this picture. So this is the applique of Lucy herself. Not done. Of course, she will be cut out when that's done, and that will be appliqued into an art piece, however that is. I need to retire just so I can keep doing all this stuff. There just seems to be so much to do, right? And time's a ticking, if you know what I'm saying. So anyways, well, there we go, everybody. I gotta tell you, you know, I so appreciate you hanging out with me. If you enjoy me and you enjoy how I'm sharing, please hit the like and subscribe. It helps with the algorithm, all that normal blah 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 that everybody always throws out there. If you didn't like me, hey, that's okay too. You know, we all are an acquired taste to somebody. So as always, when I always end anything, whether it be on film or whether it be in a classroom, know you're loved out there. Take care of yourself right now. We really need to be taking care of ourselves so that we can take care of each other to the best of our ability. And live well, and we'll see you all down the road. Goodbye, everybody. So come away with me, nobody has to.